Number 10. The cockroach. Cockroaches can squeeze through a crack the size of a coin in under a second. A cockroach's body is basically a biological accordion. Its shell isn't rigid like armor, it's a stack of overlapping plates. When it needs to squeeze through something tiny, those plates compress. The cockroach can flatten itself down to about 3 millimeters, roughly the thickness of 2 pennies. And while doing this, it's still running at full speed. It just hits the gap and flattens mid-stride. Engineers at University of California, Berkeley had been trying to build search and rescue robots that could crawl into collapsed buildings to find survivors. The problem was, the robots were too rigid. They'd hit a small gap and just stop. So they copied the cockroach. They built a robot called Cram. It is basically a mechanical cockroach. Cram can compress its body by almost 50%, squeezing through gaps that would stop any normal robot cold, and keeps moving the whole time. Cockroaches can handle being squished like this repeatedly, surviving forces up to 900 times their body weight. That little guy is now a living blueprint for robots that might save your life. Number 9. The plant hopper. Humans thought they invented gears. We didn't. A tiny insect called the plant hopper figured it out millions of years before us. The plant hopper is a small bug about the size of a tic-tac. It lives on plants and jumps around to escape predators. When it jumps, it needs both back legs to push off at exactly the same time. Not almost the same time, exactly the same time. If one leg fires even a fraction of a millisecond before the other, the bug spins out and crashes. So how does it make sure both legs move perfectly in sync? It has actual mechanical gears built into its body, real interlocking teeth, just like the gears inside a clock. The teeth on one leg lock into the teeth on the other. When one leg moves, it forces the other to move at the exact same speed. No brain signal required, pure mechanical engineering. Scientists discovered this in 2013. Until that point, we thought gears were a human invention. Turns out a bug the size of your pinky nail had already solved the same problem. And the plant hopper's gears are actually better than most human-made ones. They self-disengage when the bug reaches adulthood. Because adult plant hoppers are big enough that a gear failure would cause serious damage, the bug switches to a different coordination system. It literally upgrades its own hardware mid-life. Your car cannot do that. Number 8. The sea sponge. At the bottom of the ocean, where no sunlight reaches, there's a creature solving one of our biggest engineering problems, and it's been doing it for 600 million years. The Venus's flower basket sponge lives in complete darkness. It has no brain or eyes, but it grows something that puts our best technology to shame. Its skeleton is made of thousands of tiny glass fibers that carry light better than the cables running the entire internet right now. Our fiber-optic cables are fragile. Bend them too sharply, and they crack. The signal leaks out, and you lose data. Engineers have been fighting this problem for decades. This sponge solved it before humans existed. Its glass fibers have a layered structure built right into them, like a tiny piece of plywood made of glass. Each layer stops cracks from spreading, so the fiber bends without breaking. And the craziest part is this sponge isn't even trying to transmit data. It uses these fibers to pipe faint bioluminescent light down to algae living at its base. It built a fiber-optic network just to feed its house guests. Meanwhile, we built ours and still drop calls. Number 7. The Kingfisher. The Shinkansen bullet train could zoom through tunnels at 200 miles per hour, but every time it shot out of a tunnel, it made a massive boom. Like a sonic cannon, it blasted people awake and rattled windows. Then one engineer, Eiji Nakatsu, went birdwatching and watched a kingfisher dive into water. The kingfisher has a problem similar to the train. It lives in air, but hunts in water. Moving between them fast should cause a huge splash and a lot of noise, but it doesn't. The kingfisher hits the water like a needle going through silk, barely a ripple. The secret is the beak. It's long, narrow, and gradually gets wider toward the head, like a wedge that slowly pushes air and water out of the way, instead of slamming into it. The train was doing the opposite every time it left a tunnel, slamming from tight, compressed air inside into the open air outside. Nakatsu proposed reshaping the front of the train like a kingfisher beak. They did exactly that, and the boom disappeared. The new design also made the train 10% faster, and used 15% less electricity. A bird quietly fixed a problem that a team of engineers couldn't. Number 6. The woodpecker. Woodpeckers slam their faces into a tree up to 20 times per second, at 15 miles per hour, every single day. If you did that, your brain would be bouncing around inside your skull like a marble in a tin can. But the woodpecker is completely fine. Here's how it doesn't turn its own brain into soup. Woodpeckers have a layer of spongy bone inside their head. Think of it like a built-in helmet, but inside the helmet, it soaks up the impact before it ever reaches the brain. Additionally, a woodpecker's tongue is so long that it wraps all the way around the back of its skull, like a seatbelt for its brain. The system works so perfectly that scientists measure the forces involved. A woodpecker experiences about 1,200 G-forces per impact. A car crash is around 100 G-forces. Fighter pilots black out at 9. The woodpecker does 1,200, multiple times a minute. Engineers looked at this and realized they needed to steal it. Flight recorders, the black boxes that survive plane crashes, were redesigned using the woodpecker's skull structure. The same spongy layered system. The same idea of spreading force instead of blocking it. The result was a black box that could survive impacts it previously couldn't. Number 5. The albatross. This bird can fly 10,000 miles without flapping its wings once, not gliding downhill downhill, actually flying, for weeks, without moving its wings. The Albatross figured out something that took human engineers over a century to understand. Wind doesn't blow at the same speed everywhere. Close to the ocean surface, water slows the wind down. Higher up, the wind is much faster. The Albatross surfs between these two layers. It dives down toward the water to pick up speed, then pulls up into the faster wind layer, which launches it upward like a ramp, over and over. It's a roller coaster that never stops, and the ocean builds the track for free. The bird's wings span up to 11 feet, and lock into place like a folding table. The Albatross has a special tendon that clicks the wing open and holds it there with zero muscle effort. Engineers lost their minds a little and built autonomous drones that copy this exact technique. No engine, no fuel, no battery, just wind layers. One drone flew over the Southern Ocean for 15 days straight without a single drop of fuel. The Albatross isn't calculating wind gradients or optimizing lift-to-drag ratios. It just flies. We needed supercomputers to catch up. Number 4. Whale fin turbines. Humpback whales are the size of a school bus, but they can do something that should be physically impossible. They can spin in tight circles underwater. An animal that weighs 80,000 pounds doing underwater donuts is not supposed to work. For a long time, engineers had no idea how they did it. Then someone looked closely at the front edge of a humpback's fin. It's not smooth. It's covered in large, uneven bumps running all the way down the leading edge called tubercles. Every aerodynamics textbook said bumps on a wing were bad because they create drag. Except the whale's bumps don't create drag. They break up the water flow into smaller channels. Each bump creates a tiny spinning current of water, keeping the flow attached to the fin longer. This means the whale gets more lift before the fin stalls out. It's how a massive animal spins on a dime. Wind turbine engineers spent decades trying to squeeze more efficiency out of smooth blade designs. Then they decided to copy the whale. They added tubercle-style bumps to wind turbine blades. The blades became 32% more efficient. That's the difference between powering a neighborhood and powering a city with the same equipment. The whale had been running this design for 30 million years. Number 3. The mosquito. You've been stabbed by a mosquito hundreds of times and barely felt it. Now think about the last time a doctor gave you a shot. You felt that one. We've been making needles for over a century. The mosquito has been making a better one for 100 million years. A mosquito's needle isn't one piece. It's 6 separate interlocking parts working together, packed into something thinner than a human hair. 2 of the 6 parts are tiny serrated saws. They don't push straight in. They alternate back and forth, cutting through your skin like a tiny zipper. Instead of one big push of pressure, you get hundreds of tiny microcuts. Your pain receptors barely register it. It's the difference between someone slowly pressing a finger into your arm versus tapping it 1,000 times really fast. Before it even starts drinking, the mosquito injects a numbing chemical, giving you a free local anesthetic. Granted, it also gives you malaria sometimes, so it's not a perfect system. Engineers in Japan built a flexible needle copying this serrated structure. Test subjects reported significantly less pain, and some barely felt it at all. The needle that caused less pain was copied from an insect we swat at. Number 2. The Namib desert beetle. The Namib desert gets about half an inch of rain per year. Your shower uses more water in 30 seconds than this desert gets in a year. And yet, the Namib desert beetle isn't just surviving there, it's thriving. This grape-sized beetle has a bumpy back that is one of the most clever pieces of engineering on the planet. Every morning, fog rolls in from the ocean. The beetle climbs a sand dune and tilts its body forward, bowing to the fog. The tips of the bumps attract water, while the valleys between the bumps repel it. When tiny fog droplets hit the bumps, they stick, grow bigger, and roll down the valleys straight into the beetle's mouth. It's basically a self-filling water bottle built into its spine. No pump, no electricity, just bumps. Engineers copied the exact bump pattern to build fog nets, giant mesh structures that work the same way. Set up in dry coastal regions, the nets collect fog droplets that run down into tanks below. One fog net the size of a volleyball court can collect hundreds of liters of drinking water per day from the air. Entire villages now get their drinking water this way, because a beetle figured it out 40 million years ago. Number 1. The pistol shrimp. There is a shrimp about the size of your finger that accidentally built a weapon that briefly reaches the temperature of the surface of the sun. The pistol shrimp snaps its claw so insanely fast that it shoots a jet of water at 60 miles per hour. That jet creates a cavitation bubble. When that bubble collapses, it releases a shockwave, a flash of light and heat that briefly hits around 8,000 degrees Fahrenheit. For reference, the surface of the sun is about 10,000 degrees. This shrimp is operating at 80% sun temperature, with a claw. The snap is also one of the loudest sounds in the ocean, louder than a gunshot underwater. During World War II, submarines hid near pistol shrimp colonies because the noise masked them from enemy detection equipment. A shrimp accidentally became a military asset. That cavitation bubble stuns or kills prey instantly. No venom, no teeth, just physics. The shrimp figured out how to weaponize the collapse of a bubble. Engineers are now studying this exact mechanism to build underwater cutting tools that require almost no energy. Instead of a blade or laser, you create a cavitation bubble in the right spot and let it destroy whatever you need destroyed. The military is genuinely trying to reverse engineer what a finger-sized shrimp figured out by accident.